Welcome to Hispanic Biz Success Stories. We interview business people who built successful businesses and contributed greatly to our community. We believe every business has a story, and every good business has a legacy. As we listen to these stories, we learn some good business principles, we learn some of the history of our community, and of the people who have contributed to its richness. Today we're fortunate to have with us a gentleman who built a wonderful construction business, Mr. Mario Montes, who built a company, Urban Construction. Today it's Urban Associates. Mr. Montes, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Now, your business changed its name to Urban Associates. You don't play a big role in that anymore.
No. The name is Urban Associates LLC. And my youngest son took it over from me, or I sold him the business, and he's continuing. Actually, the original name of Urban Associates was Urban General Contractors and Engineering.
Okay.
That's the way it started on March the 17th of 71.
Wow.
1971.
42 years ago.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And what kinds of projects does Urban do now?
Presently, the company is building what they call the Sun Metro. It's like the bus station for the city buses.
Oh,
it's over here in Montana, around McRae. It's about a $35 million project.
Wow, fantastic.
And they're doing a job at Fort Bliss, like a vehicle maintenance facility, about $13 million. And they're getting ready to start a new jail cell that's about $35 million. But in the last 6 or 7 years, they have been very successful.
Since your son's been running
My son has been running it.
Yeah.
I'm in the books as a consultant, but they really don't pay attention to what I say. I left them a set of rules, and I remind them, follow my rules. But other than that...
Well, tell me about those rules. What are those rules?
Well, I developed them, of course, through the years. One of them that I think is very important is very simple. If you're in business, you dress like a businessman. See, I sold a crane. I sold a crane about 25 years ago to a friend of mine. He comes in shorts, but I mean tight shorts, short shorts. I sold the crane for $150,000. And I said, hey, how can you show up? He's a businessman. He's broke now. He probably deserves to be broke.
And what are the other rules?
Well, one of them is you treat everybody with respect. Starting with the owner who you're building for, your engineers, your construction people, your laborers, the janitor, everybody. You treat with respect. And you try not to deviate from that. You know, in a lot of business, I hear where the owner cusses out the employees, and that doesn't gain you anything.
And you have how many rules?
Yes, I have 11 personal rules and 11 business rules. Very important in this recent times, rule number 11 that says you don't, don't even think of doing something wrong or against the law. There's plenty of money to be made honestly. That's rule number 11.
How do you communicate these rules?
I have them written. Everybody in the office has a copy of them.
I know one time you had a plaque. Did you have a plaque with some of the rules on them?
No. They print them in the office, and it's like employment rules.
Okay.
If you're going to work for us, here are the rules.
And you hold people accountable to those rules?
Well, they have to, I mean, or they should.
Yeah.
Yeah. My son breaks this business of dress. He doesn't dress, but he's fine. He's fine. I would like to see him more with a sports jacket, but he's doing all right.
So you were born in El Paso, grew up in El Paso.
I was born in El Paso in 1931.
Fantastic, wow.
January. My neighborhood was the corner of Frutas and Luna Street, about a block north of Alameda, and about 3 blocks from Guardian Angel School, which I attended, and Guardian Angel Church. And between Alameda and the church and school, that was our playground. Playing, lot football, baseball, all.
Yeah, I remember that. My grandmother was on one of the Altar Society or something there at Guardian Angels. And I had 2 grandmothers, one from McGoffin and one from San Diego Street. And they
What was your grandmother's name?
She was. My father was Galicia, but she was a Logan. Albina Logan was her name.
Sí.
And then my other grandmother was Doña Rosa.
Oh yeah, but everybody was my grandmother. We used to go to church very often.
Yeah.
To offer flowers to the Virgin in May.
And then what high school did you go to?
I went to Cathedral High.
Okay.
Yeah, but of course at that time, I don't know that it's the same as it is now, but Cathedral, when I went, it was full of delinquents.
Oh.
Everybody that was expelled from the public schools were at Cathedral.
But you weren't a delinquent?
I was not a delinquent, no.
Okay.
And the rest were from Juarez.
And did your brothers go also?
My brothers went to Cathedral as well.
How many brothers?
I have 3 brothers.
And sisters?
2 sisters.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did they go to Loreto or?
My sisters went to Loreto, and my brothers went to, my oldest brother went to El Paso High. But that brings a story that I need to tell you. We lived on Fruta Street. At that time, Hispanics went to Bowie. Everybody else Anglos went to Austin or El Paso High. There was no Jefferson or anything like that. So when my oldest brother started attending school, he wanted to go to El Paso High, and they wouldn't let him. So my mother sued the district. It was probably the first suit against the district for that reason. And she used this, Albert Armendariz was a young attorney.
Yes. So that was your mother that did that suit?
My mother sued the school board.
I remember that suit.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, probably 1936.
Oh, that one, the earlier one.
Earlier than that?
No, in 30s. Wow, because there was one also in the 50s.
No, this was before the 50s. It was in Albert Armendariz, who they named a federal building for. Right. And my mother sued the El Paso Independent School District. And my brother went to El Paso High.
Okay.
Only because my mother she wasn't going to be pushed.
So what did you learn from your mother? And where did she work? Did she work too?
Well, my mother worked at the Popular department store. She was real sharp with numbers. She was a chief cashier for the Popular. And of course, in the neighborhood, they used to call us Los Palomos because we were always very well dressed. We were poor I'm going to use the word hell. We were poor. We ate beans, rice, and soup, bone soup. But we were always well dressed because working at the Popular, my mother would get these specials, and she would get clothes from the owners and that kind of stuff. So we always had clean, good clothes. And she also got, which is very significant through the years, she also got tickets from the Shorts for the opera, if there was an opera or the symphony or the carnival, whatever.
Wow.
She would get free tickets.
Wow.
And of course she would take us, all the kids, those that wanted to go, we would go to the Liberty Hall and listen to the music.
Yeah. My father worked at Popular and talks about things that the Shorts used to do for them. That was a good place to work. And your father, what did your father do?
My father was a laborer for the Southern Pacific. But people have to understand, in those years, the Hispanics were laborers because all the policemen, firemen, bus drivers, mailmen, people that worked for the telephone company, the gas company, they were all Anglos. You couldn't get a job, except as a janitor, maybe. My father was a laborer, and later he ascended to the manager of a Southern Pacific warehouse.
Wow.
And just before he died, he was bumped. You know what bumped is with the union?
Yeah.
Some guy from Sacramento came and bumped him. Oh. He went back to labor.
Oh my. Oh my.
But that was the rules of the union.
What did you learn from your father?
I think to work. We had to work around the house. Our house was the best kept in the neighborhood because we had a picket fence, we had grass, the house was always painted. All the trees were pruned because he made us take care of it.
You know, I was talking to you one time and you said something that your father had told you, a very strong message that I liked. I wonder about a message about something about the ground you stand on.
Oh, yeah. No, my father would tell us, wherever you stand, it could be private property or public property, but wherever you stand, while you're standing there, it's yours. And you don't let anybody push you off. They can ask you to move, but you don't take abuse because you're standing on somebody else's property.
So what did that message mean to you?
Just in the vernacular, I'll say don't take any bull from anybody.
He taught that to you young.
We grew up with it. He would also tell us, don't start any trouble. But if they start trouble with you, you take care of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So after high school, what did you do?
Well, I finished high school in '49. And I went to UTEP. Well, at the time, it was Texas Western College. No, it was Texas College of Mines when I went. Texas College of Mines in 1949. And then I was there like probably a year and a half, and the Korean War broke out. I had always wanted to be a pilot. So I quit college and joined the Air Force. But they wouldn't have me for a pilot. First, I was too big, or whatever.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'3.5".
Okay.
And my eyesight was not, so they didn't accept me at the Air Force. But in the interim, I lost my deferment. I had a deferment. But once once I lost my deferment, I was drafted. I was drafted in 1950. So significantly, I'll tell you another story. The group that we were drafted with was one black, I think 2 Anglos, and about 40 Hispanics. And even then, I said, well, something's wrong here. El Paso at that time was more Anglo, even more Anglo than Hispanic. But 40 Hispanics drafted, 2 Anglos and 1 black, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where did you serve?
They sent us, well, we went to San Antonio, and then from San Antonio, some of us were, I included, was sent to Augusta, Georgia, military police training. So we took basic training at Camp Gordon. Camp Gordon.
What did you learn in the military?
That was my savior, I think,
Tell
the
me.
military.
Why,
Yeah.
why was that?
Well, because you grow up in the neighborhood, you're not aware of what goes on with the world. We never, although we traveled, because my father being with the railroad, we traveled to California and Colorado and places. But we really not exposed to the world. When I joined the service, we're sent with this bunch of men. Most of them are dumb, first of all. I learned that I was smarter than most of them. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
These, I don't want to say from New York, New Jersey, from all over the country. They're Archie bunkers in my, you know what an Archie bunker is.
Yeah.
They're prejudiced. They never read the paper. They never listen to the news. They don't like music except Western. That's the type of people you run into in the service. So I learned, hey, I was pretty good.
So that gave you confidence?
Oh, yeah, no. Then we went through basic training at Camp Gordon, Georgia. Of the 200 or so trainees, they all went to Korea, except 15 of us. And we were kept to go to OCS, Officers Training School. But in the interim, I became an instructor. I had taken ROTC in college for about a year, and so I knew the moves pretty well, so they kept me as an instructor. And instructors, whatever they, map reading, you know, bayonet training, shooting, whatever. I did that for about a year. No, less than that. About 6 months.
And then did you finish your tour then?
No, after then I was asked to go to OCS,
Okay.
and they sent me to what they call leadership school. That's where I really learned things. At leadership school, they took the best of the different companies and gave them leadership. And one job we had to do was the lieutenant or captain would assign you a topic in leadership school. It says, well, you would pick a topic from a hat, and they give you 3 days to prepare to give a speech in front of in the dining room, in front of a bunch of people, a bunch of men. You would get up and give the topic that they gave you. You would expand on it.
Wow.
And they would record your speech or talk, and at night they would sit down and critique it.
Wow, fantastic.
And that opened my eyes. I spoke well in front of people. I've never had problem. But my English was terrible when we critiqued it at night. My English was terrible. And because I went to Guardian Angel, the only English spoken there was a sister. Everybody else was neighborhood Spanish. Then I went to Cathedral, the same thing, you know, most of those guys, very few Anglos, if any. And then UTEP and the neighborhood and at home, we spoke Spanish. And so while you can say that I graduated from high school and I went to college and I speak English, you don't speak it well enough to express yourself, to really sit down and have an extended conversation.
So that that shocked you to do
That shocked me.
Really?
When I heard myself, that shocked me.
So what did you do?
Well, in my own mind, I proposed to better myself. And I did. Anyway.
Did you come out an officer?
No, because the same way I didn't go to the Air Force, when I was ready to go to officers candidate school, they put out a presidential order that they were reserving commissions for the soldiers in Korea. So then they gave me a choice. You go to Trieste, you know what Trieste is? It used to be, it was a city in the, close to Venice.
Yes.
Trieste.
Okay.
It was a city in the Baltic that was run by the British, American, and Russians. I could have gone there as an MP.
Mm-hmm.
Then they gave me, I could go to Korea as an MP. And then they say you can go to Panama as a military police interpreter. So that's what I did. I went to Panama as a military police interpreter.
How long were you there?
Oh, about a year and a half.
Okay. And that was a good experience?
That was a good experience, especially with the Spanish. I picked up on the Spanish and the English, and because I had to go to court. You know, when a soldier in Panama, the official language is Spanish in Panama, even though everybody speaks English. I had to interpret in court.
Wow, fantastic.
See, so then I finished with the military. I came back to UTEP. By that time, it was Texas Western College. And I continued with a degree in 1956, I think. 1956, I finished with a degree in civil structural engineer. And I went to work for Northrop Aircraft in California.
Oh, you did? Yeah. A lot of people, I guess, from UTEP went to work.
Well, which is not happening now. When I finished college, I had 3 offers. I could have gone to work in Houston, St. Louis, San Francisco, or Los Angeles. There was a great need for engineers, and I went to Northrop.
Uh-huh. A good friend of also went to work for Northrop, but I don't know if at that time, Jaime Oaxaca.
Oh, he's a good friend of mine, yeah. He did very well.
Yeah, he became a vice president.
Yeah, he did very well. And his brother, there's another guy that I was with, he did another very well.
Yeah, he is.
Which leads me to one time I mentioned to you that people say that UTEP doesn't compare with some of these other colleges and universities. And I say to them, that's nonsense. It's as good or better than any college.
You got good training. And how long were you at Northrop?
At Northrop, I was there for a year, only because I wanted to get married. My wife didn't want to go to California, my future wife. So I quit, came back to El Paso, excuse me, and went to work for Robert E. McKee. And I got married. My wife was a teacher. Excuse me.
She'd finished college too?
She has a master's and she speaks 4 languages.
Wow.
Uh,
Is she also from El Paso?
From El Paso. And we got married, and I went to work for Robert E. McKee, and did very well.
You worked for McKee as an engineer, construction engineer?
Initially, I worked as an estimator, maybe for a year. And then I went in the field, and right off the bat, they sent us to Hawaii, Honolulu, outside of Honolulu. I was a field engineer. We built 26 rocket sites.
Wow.
In the mountains. Have you ever been to Oahu?
Yes.
Those mountains up there, there's tunnels.
Okay.
26 of them.
I was stationed at Hickam, and then they had built a Tripler hospital.
Oh yeah, well, we were beyond Tripler.
Okay.
We were closer to Kuli Kuli Pass, if you know where
Yeah.
Kuli Kuli Pass.
Wow, way up in the mountains.
Yeah, way up in the mountains. It's a tough job.
So you were in charge of?
Of the field.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the engineering.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the engineering. I had helpers. I had 2 helpers and another engineer that would help me. It's a big project, and it was tough. You know, building up there in the mountains, it was hard.
And how long were you there in Hawaii doing that?
Well, when we finished the rocket plant, I had a couple of months building the Honolulu airport.
Oh, okay.
They were finishing, so I didn't have too much to do with it, but the paperwork, I kind of took care of it. And then after the airport, McKee built the University of Hawaii, what they call the East-West Center.
Yes, yes.
Have you
Yes.
you seen it?
Yeah.
It's about 8 buildings.
Yeah, huge, yeah.
8 buildings, some dormitories, auditoriums. I was the office engineer on that one.
Wow, wow.
I took care of all the paperwork.
So you learned a lot working for McKee. You know, I wanna get into that and ask about that experience that you had and what you learned through that experience with R.E. McKee before you started your business. We're fortunate enough to continue our discussion with Mr. Mario Montes, who built Urban Construction, today known as Urban Associates. And we were just talking about, after you finished college, Mr. Montes, thank you for your time with us. Appreciate your visiting with us and telling us your story.
You're welcome.
Fascinating story. When you'd finished at Texas Western a degree in engineering,
Right.
structural engineering, and
Civil structural.
and after you worked for Northrop for a year or so, you came back to get married.
I came back to get married.
And then you got a job with R.E. McKee.
Got a job with R.E. McKee, and I worked with R.E. McKee, I guess. Well, when I started the business in 70, I worked until 70, about 13, 14 years I worked for Robert E. McKee.
So what did you learn working for R.E. McKee?
Well, our Robert E. McKee had very strict rules. This is one place. For instance, all this bribery going on, you know, local bribery going on. McKee had a policy, you don't give anybody even a bottle of liquor for Christmas. You don't give anyone anything. It's a gratuity or whatever, nothing. Very important, because they can turn it around you know.
And you were able to raise right away to supervise projects. You were telling me you...
Well, after I came back from Hawaii, I came back to El Paso, and I became the El Paso Division project manager. And I supervised like the Civic Center, Beaumont Hospital, the Chamisal, you remember the Chamisal agreement where Lyndon Johnson came?
Right.
Well, those bridges were under my supervision.
Okay.
And many other buildings around town, in White Sands as well.
Because R.E. McKee did a lot building Hawaii. As you said, you were part of building the airport and some missile sites, and but he also built Los Alamos. Were you involved with that?
No, that was before. That was before my time.
Okay.
No, when I got back from Hawaii, I did work in Phoenix. I built Glendale Junior College, and I worked in Tucson. I did a bank, Union Bank of Arizona.
Question I want to ask about that was that R.E. McKee allowed Hispanics to surface and to raise through the ranks.
Yeah, well, I'll mention his name. There was the chief estimator was a name Frank Cordero. Very smart. He had been a fighter pilot during the Second World War, and he was one of the chiefs at Robert E. McKee. Yeah.
Because those big companies in El Paso didn't have a lot of access for Hispanics. Is that right?
No, I agree. Yeah. No, at that time, but I think I did very well because I became the chief project manager.
So you learned you learned construction principles. You learned.
I learned from scratch, from estimating to field engineering to building it, pouring. I could finish concrete or tie wire or whatever. Yeah.
Not only the supervision, but the hands-on as well.
Hands-on, yeah.
Wow.
I worked in 22 degrees, what was it, 20 degrees below on the Air Force Academy.
Really?
McKee built the Air Force Academy.
Okay.
I went there for a while, not very long, but oh yeah,
So did you know, when did you then begin to think you wanted to start your own business?
Well, I became the division project manager, and I had my own office and my own secretary. I had people under me, and I worked more directly with the subcontractors. One subcontractor in particular was a company known as Southwestern Sheet Metal that was owned by a gentleman by the name of Bill Castron.
Yes.
At that time, he was an all-powerful individual. He was in the board of directors of the El Paso Bank and the State Bank, and he was very, very wealthy. And attorneys were theoretically afraid of him because he didn't hesitate to sue.
Okay.
Anyway, he was my mentor. He had a construction company that dissolved. He wanted to replace it. So he talked to me about going into business to replace his construction company that had. And of course, I never thought of going into business at the time. But he kept after me. Hey, Mario, come on, you can do it. Hey, you take this. You can do as good or better than these guys. And come on, let's go. I said, hey, I don't have enough money. I don't have any money. Oh, he says, you borrow $25,000 and we'll put up $25,000. So 3 of us. There was Bill, myself, and Humberto Zambrano.
He'd worked with you at R.E. McKee?
He worked at Robert E. McKee.
And he was also an engineer?
He was an engineer. We started the company. Later on, we brought in another guy, but he quit after a very short while. So anyway, the 3 of us started Urban General Contractors and Engineering. And right away, we were successful. I think one of our first buildings was the Chamber of Commerce building.
I remember that, yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
One of our big jobs, well, we built 3 community college campuses.
Here.
Valle Verde, the downtown campus, and Trans Mountain.
Wow.
See?
Big project. So right away, you got into big
Yeah,
project.
pretty much.
Because it took a lot of bonding capacity.
It took a lot of bonding capacity, but we made some money on those projects.
So right away, were you one of the largest Hispanic construction companies around?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, because they were house builders, Hispanic house builders,
Right.
and maybe apartment builders, but commercial hospitals, schools, and we were the first one.
Wow.
And it was not easy. You know.
What was
No.
difficult?
Well, for instance, I remember going to the Chamber of Commerce. Well, Sam and I went to the Chamber of Commerce. We're going to join because we were good community business. Oh, he says, the guy that talked to us, he says, oh, you're just a couple of big, because we were both tall. He says, you're just a couple of Mexican trying to act big.
Oh my.
Because we were starting this construction.
And this was in the 70s.
This was in the 70s. We were competing against Robert E. McKee and Level.
Charlie Level, yes.
Charlie Level, which were a big company. And we competed and we did well against them.
And the chamber didn't know who you were.
No, the chamber, they thought we were just a couple of big Mexicans trying to act big. That's what he said. Hey, you're just trying to act big.
So what did you do with that?
Well, we never joined it. I have never had anything to do with the Chamber of Commerce for that reason. I don't even want to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't until '85 that they started. What I came in to do was build a minority business council.
Well, maybe they got better.
But that was '85.
In the 50s, that's what happened to us.
Wow. And so, how were the banks with you at that time?
Well, we didn't borrow from the bank. One time we did, but that's another story. We started with $75,000 and then built the Chamber of Commerce, and we built other buildings around town, and then we hit it big on the Valle Verde campus. Although I'll tell you, on Valle Verde campus, we barely got out of it with a little bit of profit because it was.
What kinds of problems did you have with that?
Well, we had problems with the union, and we had problems that it was too big a project for the two of us, and we had a problem with a multitude of.
How did you overcome those challenges?
Well, just, when you have enough money in the bank, those problems don't exist. You see? Yeah. Once we got big enough and had the money in the bank, well, you don't care. Problems really don't exist when you have money.
But when you didn't have money, enough money.
When you didn't have money, boy, if a carpenter were to cut a door the wrong size, I mean, you sweat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, thank God we didn't have.
So the company struggled a little bit, but with the big projects it struggled.
Yeah, we did. We started with big projects, and
wow.
At Fort Bliss we did a lot of work at Fort Bliss.
Did you become a certified 8A with SBA?
We did, only because you remember Senator Montoya from New Mexico.
I knew Senator Montoya.
Well, I knew him too.
We knew him on first name basis. We were friends.
Okay, well, Senator
Good
Montoya
man.
got a job for a friend of mine, Carlos Blanco, who was a contractor in Las Cruces,
Mm-hmm.
to build the Las Cruces Federal Building. Carlos was a house builder, and realizing that he didn't know about building the federal building, contacted us, and they put us in the 8A program.
Okay.
And we built that federal office building in Las Cruces.
Okay.
And we made some good money.
Good.
And Carlos was we created a joint venture. Carlos got 50, and we made some pretty good money on that job.
Wow, that was good.
And
So you stayed in 8A. Did that do more work for you with the government, the 8A?
no, the 8A, for some reason, they claim after we finished that job, we say, well, maybe we can get some more 8A. No, they graduated us
Right away.
because we had too much money in the bank.
That's, yeah, 8A has those limits. Wow.
Because, with big jobs, you make money. I mean, it's not unusual to make $1 million on a job, but you have, our overhead at the office right now is like $800,000.
Wow.
That comes out of the profits from the job. So it's not that simple.
So now you have children. You have 2 children.
I have 4 children.
You have 4 children.
2 boys and 2 girls.
Okay. And what do they all do now?
My oldest son is he's an engineer as well. He's a registered engineer. He's a vice president for a company a national company in Southern California. That company hires about 25,000 engineers.
Wow.
All over the country.
Wow.
And he runs Southern California job. And my oldest daughter, she works for the California Institute of Fashion Design.
Really? Wow.
And marketing in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
She travels all over the world. She's doing fine. Then my next daughter, she's married to Manny Carrizal, painting contractor. They're doing well as well. And then my youngest son is the one that I sold the company, Urban Associates. I sold it to him about 4 or 5 years ago. And he's done very well.
Michael?
He's
an engineer too?
No, but he's like a genius. You've heard of the absent-minded professor?
Yes.
That's like him. He's lacking, I think, 8 hours to become a computer science engineer. But he never finished college. He's lacking 8 hours. He's not going to go back. But he reads something and he remembers it.
How did you prepare for the transition to your son?
Well, when I decided to retire in 1997, I had a meeting in Hawaii with my family. I told them, I'm retiring. Who's interested in continuing with the business? No one said anything. So then I said, well, I'll have to let go like 40 people or somehow continue the business. So I got one of my engineers, Oscar Venegas. I got him. I gave him some money, and we started another company. My company was dissolved. We started another company with a little bit different name, and I made him the president. And for a while it went well, but then we had some disappointments and we called it quits. I bought him out and he went his own way and I kept the company.
Yeah, he now has VMAC, a large construction
VMAC.
company. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so after that change, then what did you do?
Well, when I got Oscar as president, I made my youngest son vice president. And so they both, but really Oscar was the one that making all the calls. So then when we got, when Oscar left, my son took over. And I was there for like 2 or 3 years with my son and I.
So you were helping him, teaching
him, and eventually he bought me out. and he's all by himself. And he's doing very well. He's doing very well. One of the reasons is, of course, there was a lot of work at Fort Bliss the last 5 or 6 years.
So the values that you built the business on, were you able to prepare him and transfer those values to him?
Well, he has the same values that I had, the values from growing up. You know what I mean? I mean, like my son in California or him or my daughter, I mean, the values have to be integrity. You have to have integrity. You just can't be you have to be an honest person.
What does that mean? How do you do that?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of these things come from the home. And then there's other people that are hypocrites. They preach it, but they don't do it. You see, they do the opposite. You see it in the papers. Just 2 days ago, there's a story about there's no integrity, there's no honesty. You can't have that. And of course, hard work. But I don't mean hard physical work and you have to work all night and all day. No. Hard work up here, you know. You think and you do it. And you need to relax because there's a lot of problems in the business.
So when you got into the business and you had challenges and all, how did you learn to build it? How did you learn to manage that business?
If they throw you in the river, you learn how to swim.
But some people don't learn.
Well, some people don't swim, but you just work at it. You don't give up, which is one of my dad. Another thing, my dad used to say, if you're gonna do something, you do it right or don't do it, and you don't give up until you finish. Some people give up too early, too soon. They come into an obstacle and they back away instead of going forward. You can't give up.
So what is your biggest strength?
My biggest what?
Strength.
My youngest daughter comes and tells me the other day, just the other day, she says, "Oh, Dad, you think you know everything." I said, "Mija, I don't know everything, but almost." Because, hey, I read, I study. I have all kinds of hobbies. I study the stars. I've built my own telescopes. I study astronomy. I'm involved with the Republican Party. I watch the news every night. I read the newspaper from one page to the. I keep involved. I don't watch television. I watch National Geographic or the Travel Channel or that kind of stuff. I don't watch murder and divorce and that's.
And so what do you do now with your time?
Well, I still have an office at the business office with a computer. I spend some time going through the computer, see what's going on. And then I'm an amateur painter. I do painting. And then that's about it. My wife has had some problems that I can't leave her by herself. Even though we have a lady that takes care of her, I still have to be around. So that's about it. It's kind of boring because I'm not used to sitting around doing nothing.
You always worked. You always worked hard.
I've always worked.
So what is the legacy that you see? What message do you have for people who think about getting into business?
Well, regarding the business, you know, it breaks my heart when I get some young man coming into the office and saying, "Oh, I'm going into business of electrical or mechanical or whatever, or general construction." And I asked him, well, what experience do you have? Well, why do I need experience, or why do I need that? Oh, I went to school and I went to the community college and took electrical. I said, yeah, but that doesn't prepare you for business. For business, you need experience you need experience before you go forward into a business. Because like you say, the first obstacle, they don't know what to do. They give up. They give up and they go broke.
You've seen a lot of businesses go broke.
Oh, a lot of them. For that reason. Yeah, for that reason. They're not prepared. And the other one is they don't have any morals. You know, they're show-offs. I see a lot of contractors that made a little bit of money. Right away, they're driving in a Mercedes. Their pickups they even cattails on the antenna, on their equipment. You know, they just show off. You don't need to be a show-off. In Spanish, there's a word, fanfarrón.
So what is, again, to a young business person, what would you tell them besides get the experience, be prepared?
Get
right?
the experience, and then somehow find. You don't need that much money. You really, like I tell you, we started with 25,000 each. Although I have to say that my partner was a millionaire, and I'm sure he would have bailed us out if we had gotten into trouble. But if you could get that plan would work very well. But you don't need that. You need to have work ethics. You need to know the business. You need to make a profit. And when you make the profit, you need to know how to keep it. Not go spend it and squander it in big equipment. A lot of these young people, they make money in the business. Oh, they get all new equipment. Well, I have a policy that's in my business rules. You don't buy anything unless the price, no, how is it? You don't buy anything unless the price of renting it is more than half of what you pay for it.
So how does that massage out?
Well, the problem is like a crane. A crane, they cost $200,000, $250,000. You have to keep it busy. Because if you don't keep it busy, you're losing money. And so I tell my son or anybody, you rent it. Now, if you're going to rent it for 2 years, the rent is going to be more than if you had bought it. Well, then you buy it.
So where did you learn how to build assets?
Well, a progressive company has to build assets, or they're going to go out of business. First of all, you can't get bonding without assets in the bank. And you build assets by being careful with what you spend. Everywhere, I mean, the purchase of pencils in the office, but a lot of these smaller or not sophisticated contractors, like I say, as soon as they make a little bit of money, they'll buy a Mercedes for themselves and one for their wives. And there goes $100,000 that could have been in the bank to give him maybe $1 million worth of bonding.
Wow.
You see?
Well, you've certainly learned the ropes, and you were able to pass them on to your son and your children. You built a beautiful business that contributed greatly to this community. You started in 71?
In 71.
And it's still going?
It's still going,
That's
yes.
a very strong legacy, and a business built on values.
Yeah, I think you have to have work ethics, because and you slip from those work ethic, you're going to get into trouble, like
Well,
you see in the newspaper.
Well, you certainly have been a blessing to us with your story today, and I really appreciate your story and admire your story, and I find it inspirational, of course, and motivating, and I hope that the viewers also see that the contribution that you've made to your family, to the community, and the wonderful success that you've had through hard work and good principles and through rules.
Through my rules.
Mr. Mario Montes, we greatly appreciate your time and your story, and we're excited about your future and the future of your sons with the business.
I'm only 83 years old.
That's fantastic.
Incidentally, I still have coffee with my friend Bill Cashman. He's 96 years old.
Fantastic. Isn't that wonderful? That's
Oh,
a great
yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate the viewers for taking time to join us in this wonderful story. And we ask for you to stay tuned for more stories from Hispanic Biz Success Stories. Thank you and good day.